Where's Andrew?
Fired again.
Yeah.
He just doesn't want to be here when I'm here.
I can never get both of you just here. It's so rare.
More busy men. Got to work.
I know. I'm going to be living that lifestyle soon.
I had 42 hours of overtime. 42 hours of overtime.
Overtime. Well, that means good house money, though.
Yeah. It's actually the Deion Sanders Shade Fund that I went to.
They're bright, and so is your future, brother.
Absolutely. Welcome on in to the Good Time Sports Podcast. I'm hosting and producing Brendan Carson, joined by me as always, Colin Brown. And yeah, we'll say Andrew's here imaginary. He's here in spirit. How about that?
In spirit. There we go.
Yeah. He has some headaches going on today, so I don't blame him. Migraines suck. Getting on into it, today we're going to be talking about MLB, NHL, some college basketball, NBA, some college football stuff, mostly the Heisman, NFL, and then as always, we'll end it off in this day in sports. Let's get into it. Shohei news, ladies and gentlemen. Shohei news.
Called it. I nailed this prediction. I said so when we made our MLB predictions back in, what was it, March, April?
Something like that, yeah.
I called this from day one. Shohei Ohtani, you are a Los Angeles Dodger.
You absolutely. I love how I just got a Coach Prime ad on my thing, and he's wearing these shits I'm wearing right now. I was like, oh, that's ironic. Yep, Shohei is now a Dodger, so all you Dodger fans, you can now pay $80 for a hot dog because this man, this man is basically now the same value as the owner of the Colorado Rockies. Yes, let that sink in. He now is the same value as someone who owns an MLB team. I'm talking $700 million for 10 years.
The largest deal, not only in baseball.
Guaranteed.
Guaranteed. Largest deal in North American sports history. Shohei Ohtani, rightfully deserved. He is the rare six-tool player, once in a lifetime. Just absolutely incredible. Obviously, multiple-time MVP. The guy is going to be a star in baseball now in Los Angeles. Well, staying in Los Angeles now for the rest of his career. And this was meant to always happen. Now, when we were talking value, we were talking about, all right, $500 million, potentially $600.
Yeah.
But that's $700, man.
Big buckaroos there, bud.
The next highest paid, I think, was Trout, right, at $426.
Yeah.
It seems like chump change to Shohei.
And the Angels were so hell-bent, we're not getting rid of Trout. I'm
Yeah.
like, you'd rather get rid of Shohei for free? What did I say last year? What did I say? I said they needed to trade him, and they could have gotten so many prospects to help rebuild that organization. What'd they do? Let him walk right out the door. Insane. Whatever. I don't know. I'm not an owner, but I at least know how to manage a team better.
Yeah, that's safe to say. I would have kept Shohei Ohtani.
You either pay him that money
Right.
to keep him there because he'll bring in the money, or you trade him, which is what should have happened to begin with. You should have known you're probably not going to be able to compete with that market.
Right.
It's like when the Rangers are like, yeah, we have to drop out. Probably because it got that high. The Rangers are like, we're already at $500 million alone just on two people. We can't afford that, which is fine. You got to know when to step out and be like, yep, you're going to play for another team next year. It's okay.
Which is what the Dodgers did. The Dodgers saw Shohei Ohtani.
Yes.
Over the horizon. They realized, hey, they're freaking neighbors across the highway probably in Los Angeles. They weren't going to be able to keep Shohei along with Trout.
100%.
They made moves accordingly over the last couple of years, kind of shedding some guys that some people were like, I don't like this. But they were thinking long term.
Yeah, because he's going to fill butts and seats.
Yes.
The Dodgers really don't have that issue to begin with, but now you're guaranteeing you're basically going to almost have sold-out games anytime he's playing.
Right.
So when he pitches, you're going to fill seats. When he's batting, you're going to fill seats. You're going to make so much money off him alone. Not to mention, he's going to make a bunch of money from this. And if they get World Series things like that, the incentives he probably also has in that contract, I'll be interested to see when they actually release the full details of it, because I want to go through. I want to see what his incentives are, because you already have $700 million guaranteed. There's other incentives built into this.
Yeah.
So World Series, MVPs, whatever. I mean, he's also going to get money from his jersey sales alone because all players have that as well, where they get a portion of their sales. Safe to say he's probably going to end up owning a team either here in the U.S. or in Japan once he's retired.
Yeah, he's set for life. The Dodgers are currently plus 500 odds to win the World Series, as the latest odds provided by FanDuel.
Yeah, rightfully so. I mean, their lineup is insane.
Yeah, I mean, you got to think about it. So you have Mookie probably leading off. You probably have Shohei at 2, Freddie Freeman at 3. What's his face at 4? I'm blanking. Oh my goodness. You have also Max Muncy, Will Smith. Gosh, that's gonna kill me. You got James Outman.
Let's just see what this predicted order is right now.
Yeah,
let's see here
because it's insane. It also does pass Lionel Messi for the largest deal in sports.
Here we go.
For the record,
Mookie Betts would be probably going first.
Right.
Shohei 2.
Yep.
Freddie Freeman 3.
Right. Who's
Will Smith 4.
Okay, so Will Smith.
Max Muncy 5.
Yeah.
Jason Haywood 6. Chris Taylor 7. 8 is Outman.
Yep.
And 9 is Lux.
Gavin Lux, who's coming back.
Yeah.
Who missed all of this season.
So you're already starting off basically your first 5 hitters swinging hard.
Yeah.
Now, Haywood, Taylor, okay, yeah. I mean, they're not bad. I mean, it's nothing like super crazy about. But then, yeah, you're ending it with Lux as well, and it's like you got to find. It's going to be a tough lineup, and it's kind of like what the issues people had with the Rangers were. People are like, normally you can go through and you can pick off certain, like, this group I'm really going to focus on to get these guys out, and then I'll just try to either pitch around and get it out here or there, or I'll walk these guys.
Yeah, there's none.
Yeah, and
there's none.
And that's the issue people had with the Rangers is it was a tough batting order the whole way through, and this is now what the Dodgers have as well. You have a tough batting order the whole way through. And so that's really what's winning teams right now is you have to have semi-decent pitching and you have a hell of a batting order.
Which you get with Ohtani, too, by the way, whenever he recovers from his Tommy John.
Yep. So that'll be probably, 2025, I think they said he should be able to pitch by. Yeah. We'll see what happens there. I'm sure he might start pitching near the very end of 2024. But to play it safe, I'd say put him in at 2025. So.
Right. He becomes the 5th player all-time in Major League Baseball history that wins a reigning MVP and then switches teams. The other, 1940, Eddie Collins moves over to the White Sox. Barry Bonds back in 1992 to the Giants. 2003, Alex Rodriguez to the Yankees. And Giancarlo Stanback in 2017 did to the Yankees as well. So this is truly a monumental just sports moment. Because
I wonder what that cap hit's going to be.
You know what? The only thing it's saying he's probably it's $70 million a year, right? Because 10 divided by 700,
yeah,
$70 million. I mean, unless they figure it out or whatever.
Well, because I think they were already over the cap hit,
so they probably
I'm wondering what their full luxury tax
is
going to end up being.
Well, it's the Dodgers; they can afford it.
You ain't wrong.
Also, oh my god, I was just about to think that. Literally just lost my train of thought. Shoot. Anyways, no, this is largely, that's what I was going to say. So the only negative thing that I saw about this entire process, right? You don't have Instagram. On Instagram, he announced.
I'm a Twitter guy.
I know.
X, excuse me.
X, yes. So he announced it on his Instagram saying, hey, I'm going to the Dodgers. The man is now going to be paid $700 million. He used like a low-res Google image Los Angeles Dodger photo to announce his decision.
I love that.
And he's just like, I mean, I love him for it, but it's also just like, oh my goodness. Shohei Ohtani is a very likable guy. Obviously, coming over from a completely different other country and succeeding like this.
Well, it's not the first time we've seen a Japanese baseball player
but like
succeed.
No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is it's the way he's doing it. And the fact that he's signed now the richest contract in sports history, like that's something that all kids again can strive for, whether they're living here and want to go elsewhere or vice versa.
What I really want to see for this next move though is from the Rangers. I want Yoshinobu Yamamoto so bad for the Rangers. He is a boss of a pitcher. So he's now on the free agency market. So he will not be in the MPB. So he stated he's open. He's trying to come over to the U.S.
Yep.
We'll see. I know the Dodgers were also trying to go after him. So we'll see what happens there. Kind of getting the free agency tracker real quick. So Shohei, like we said, to the Dodgers, 10 years, $700 million. Yoshinobu Yamamoto's another big one to watch out for. Again, he's still free agency. Cody Bellinger. He's another guy to look out for. He's on free agency. Matt Chapman, again, another one. That'll be interested to see here. what do we have? Aaron Nola.
Aaron Nola.
Yeah. Philly, 7 years, $172 million deal.
Yep.
Good for you, man.
Big,
good pickup.
Big by Philly. They needed to keep Nola there.
Blake Snell, free agency market as well. We'll see what happens there. Rodriguez from Detroit to the Diamondbacks. Good pickup for a left-handed pitcher. They picked him up for 4 years, $80 million deal. Marcus, was it Stroman? Right-handed pitcher for the Cubs is on the free agency market.
Mm-hmm.
Lucas Giolito, I think is how you say it. He's with the Guardians. I'm probably mispronouncing. Giolito, thank you. I was like, I know I'm probably butchering that name. Right-handed pitcher is also on the free market. Montgomery is on the free market, or didn't he just get signed actually by someone?
This updated as of like this morning.
Okay, so then probably still in the free market. Rangers have announced they probably can't afford him, so that sucks that we're going to lose him.
Yeah,
big contributing factor to the World Series win. Hope you get your money, Jordan.
Yeah.
What else we got? Sonny Gray went from the Twins over to the St. Louis Cardinals, signed a 3-year, $75 million deal.
Good get for the Cardinals.
Yeah. Let's see what other big names we got in here. Josh Hader, open on the market.
Reese Hoskins, also on the market.
Yep, I missed that one. My bad. Jung Ho Lee, another. Oh, he's a Korean baseball player actually. If you watch Korean ball, he's actually really good hitting. He'll be a good pickup. So again, if you need kind of a power hitter, he's going to be the guy to look out for.
Harrison Bader, also free agent from the Reds. He'll be a nice player. Jock Peterson.
Yep.
Justin Turner. Well, if nothing else, veteran experience. Quickly on Yamamoto.
JD Martinez.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yamamoto, his team odds. This was done back. Oh, so this is today. Okay, so these are updated odds on Yamamoto. Number one is the New York Mets.
No, I can see it though.
Plus 175, followed by the Yankees at plus 200, the Dodgers at plus 250. And then it's kind of everybody else.
Rangers, come on.
It's everyone else after that with the Red Sox, Giants, Cubs, and Cardinals is the next 4 highest.
Yeah. Again, our issues cap space for the Rangers. So
yeah, it's Yamamoto. It's belief among MLB insiders he'll be offered as much as $300 million in a long-term contract.
Yeah, I know some rumors right now. Kind of getting to other free agents. Tim Anderson. All right. JD Martinez, I think I just said already. Clayton Kershaw, that was one that the Rangers are apparently rumored to be talking to and looking into. We'll see if that actually happens. I don't know how I feel about that.
I really hope the Mariners can make a play for Blake Snell. I don't know how realistic that is. I think the Padres, if I had to choose run with my gut, I think he signs back with San Diego.
Y'all have Hernandez on free agents as well.
Yeah,
Teoscar.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, he's probably gonna be gone.
Probably.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting offseason for sure. I just want the Mariners to be active more often than anything.
Gary Sanchez. Oh, Tommy Pham. He's going to be on the free agency market. That'll be an interesting one to kind of look out for as well.
Yeah, big part of the Arizona Diamondbacks World Series runner-up team.
Let's see here. What other big names are there out here?
Aroldis Chapman, Rangers relief pitcher. He's on the market. Mitch Garver for the Rangers as well. Carlos Santana, still a really good bat at 37 years old. There's some guys for sure. Ahmed Rosario for the Dodgers. They got him, I believe, in a midseason trade.
Yep.
So, I think there's definitely some value on the free agent market for sure.
Yep, and that really about does it.
Yeah.
For that. So that's free agency kind of market right now. Shohei, good on you. Got your bag.
Yep.
Anything else with baseball?
Nothing too much, man. I think, I just think we're in the mode now of the offseason. This was obviously the biggest fish. We had to talk about it.
Oh, yeah.
And
it's big for sports in general because now it's going to affect other sport markets.
Yeah.
NFL.
Yeah, right.
NBA.
Well, they're already trending towards that way. Baseball's just that much
ahead of everyone.
Yeah.
You get your bag in baseball.
Yeah, you do.
That's for sure.
Where players do need to get the bag, but they're working on it. The NHL.
It's winter time, and that means it's hockey time. Boston, hanging in there. It's weird not saying Boston like good.
Running away, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
so-
Boston is good. They're number 1 in the Atlantic.
Yeah, but I
Right.
mean, they're not super far ahead right now. Boston 39 points, followed by Florida Panthers at 36.
Panther.
Good old Panther. Toronto Maple Leafs 32, Detroit Red Wings 32, Tampa Bay Lightning 31, and then I mean that's really about the noteworthy thing. Moving on over to the Metropolitan. Colin, you want to take over that one?
New York Rangers, Philadelphia Flyers, Washington Capitals, New York Islanders, and the New Jersey Devils slowly creeping their way up there, along with the Carolina Hurricanes. Those are kind of the teams of note in the Metropolitan. The Rangers lead 39-32 with the second-place team, Flyers.
Yep, the Rangers being tied with Boston at 39 points, so that'll be interesting there. Moving on over to the Central. Winnipeg Jets, unfortunately, have taken first right now with 34 points, tied with the Colorado Avalanche at 34. Dallas Stars creeping up in there, though, with 33. And then you got the Nashville Predators 30, Arizona Coyotes 28, St. Louis Blues 27. Moving on over to the Pacific, the top dogs in the league right now, the ones to beat, your Las Vegas Knights at 43. Vancouver Canucks at 37, Los Angeles Kings at 36, Edmonton Oilers 25, Calgary Flames 25, Seattle Kraken 23.
It's a tough day.
You also have someone that recently went to injured reserve, I saw.
Yeah, we've lost 8 straight. It's not looking good.
No,
in
it's not.
Seattle right now. And I kind of expected this year to happen this way. We skyrocketed way ahead of schedule.
Here's the crash landing.
Yeah, just it's one of those things coming back down to earth. We're still, I think, a long way from even potentially trying to contend for a Stanley Cup. Obviously, you mentioned Grubauer has been placed on injured reserve. That's a big blow. Gonna miss you, Gru. He's one of the more reliable guys we have in net, obviously, and yeah, it's a big part of the reason why we're losing these games. I just think, in general, the Kraken are in a state of franchise where they need more talent, and the talent that they have is just not melding together the way that they thought it would.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're struggling on all fronts, scoring, stopping scoring, everything. We're in a rough spot right now.
Yep. Dallas Stars doing pretty good for the spot they're in. Old Man Pavs is leading the way with 25 points for the team, followed by Jason Robertson with 16 assists. So they're out there doing well. And Pavs is also leading in goals with 11. Showing that he still can do it as the oldest man on the team and almost one of the oldest players in the league, actually, now that I think about it.
He is up there for sure.
Yeah.
Age is just a number.
Yeah, shoot. He's aging like a fine bourbon. That man plays better the older he gets, apparently.
Yeah.
What else we got here?
I will say, the Edmonton Oilers rise. They're on a 7-game winning streak. Turns out a change of scenery and a change of manager really is a big key for them.
Yep.
Also have the Blackhawks tonight. I'm going to assume, go out on a limb here and say they might make it 8 straight. This team should never have been as low as they were. I mean, they were one of the bottom teams in the NHL. And honestly, they needed to make an adjustment like that because I believe this team, down at its core, is meant to be contending for the Stanley Cup. Now, obviously, they had a lot of work to do, and they're making up ground. But the Oilers are finding the groove. Draisaitl, honestly, Connor McDavid, the whole crew, they're looking to wreak havoc. Now, they have a sizable gap between themselves and obviously,
Knights.
well, Vegas Golden Knights, but not only that, just the Canucks and the Kings in general, too. I mean, they're up on.
They got a mountain to climb.
Yeah, but in terms of making it back into the Western Conference playoffs, which ultimately we've seen it, as long as you can get in, you can compete.
You ain't wrong.
They're well in the mix in that race. They got to obviously keep playing great hockey. But my Stanley Cup prediction pick with both the Devils, who, I mean, at least they're kind of respectable now in the Metropolitan.
Yeah.
It's
10 points down, but you can make that up.
It's looking alive. It's looking like, there's something there.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see about that.
Yeah, but I mean, the Oilers, though, playing the best hockey in the NHL right now by far. And that's saying something, considering the Vegas Golden Knights are the Golden Knights.
I mean, the Knights are just on top of the world right now. What's his name? Jack Eichel? I think I could be mispronouncing his name.
No, that is his name.
Okay. 32 points.
Yeah.
Insane.
Yeah.
That man is carrying that team.
Yeah.
So, and 20 assists as well. So, not just being the top goal scorer, but actually making plays, which
Well,
is fantastic.
Can I one-up you with a JT Miller for Vancouver?
Go for it.
40 points.
Gotta love it.
He is leading now the highest scoring team. I know in the West. I'm not sure. Let me double check. Yep, they're the highest scoring team in the NHL. 107 goals scored this season. The Canucks prove that they are one of the best stories in all of the NHL. Weirdly enough, I never thought I might say this, but the Canucks might be the biggest challenger to the Vegas Golden Knights' reign in the Western Conference.
Yeah.
And it's insane.
Yep.
Their offense is electric. And I feel like on any given night, they can compete with anybody. They did lose to the Knights back on, it doesn't say the date. Nice. Back a few games ago, 4-1. That's because the Knights are just so used to just being a dominant power. But I still would like the Canucks' chances in a potential Game 7. They're legit.
Yeah.
They're really good.
Gotta love it. Well, anything else we want to talk about before we move on to some college basketball?
No, brother. I think we kind of touched on everything, but yeah, this hockey season's just getting started.
Yep, and college football's ramping down, so be prepared to hear a lot about hockey coming up. But let's talk about some basketball. Basketball. All right, Colin, what you got for us?
I'm going to run through the top 25, and then we're going to break down some of the top teams in college basketball.
Break it on down, brother.
Number 1, Arizona. Number 2, Kansas. Number 3, Purdue. Number 4, Houston. Number 5, UConn. Number 6, Baylor. Number 7, Marquette. Number 8, Creighton. Number 9, North Carolina. Number 10, Gonzaga. Number 11, Oklahoma.
Boomer.
Number 12, Tennessee. Number 13, Clemson. Number 14, Kentucky. 15, Florida Atlantic. 16, Illinois. 17, Colorado State. 18, BYU. 19, Texas. 20, James Madison. 21, Duke. 22, Virginia. 23, Wisconsin. 24, Miami. And rounding it out at number 25, Northwestern. All right.
I just want to say, North Carolina and Gonzaga being ahead of OU, who's 9-0, nonsense. 7-2, nonsense.
So,
I get schedule.
Yeah.
And all that.
Here's the thing. We've been debating this with college football. It's not necessarily always about your record. It's about the resume. And
Still shenanigans.
It is. And here's the thing. Once we get into more conference play and everything,
I'll get on that rant, though, when we get into college football.
yeah, it's one that's live in this one too.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Arizona, legit. They've just beat Wisconsin 98-73. They've got a big game coming up though here on the 16th against Purdue. That one is going to be, I would assume, on national television.
Probably.
No, it's on Peacock actually.
Streaming?
Yes.
That's weird.
That's interesting. Okay.
I guess
credit,
I won't
shout
be
out
watching,
to you, Peacock. Yeah.
I guess I can't watch that game.
I'm not sure if Peacock maybe will do a free promotion or something if you want to watch it, but
Or they could sponsor us.
right, exactly. But yeah, listen, Arizona is a complete, your classic just, they're going to be a team that's built for March. They are unstoppable. Currently, right now, ironically, Purdue with Zach Edey is the betting favorite at like 57% on the ESPN picker.
Hey, careful when you use those words betting.
Yeah,
Andrew
yeah,
might
yeah.
be listening.
We do not, we do not advertise gambling on the show. Yes.
We're talking to you, Andrew.
Get
help.
Yeah. We love you, buddy. Here's the thing. Caleb Love leads the way. Their guard lineup is pretty insane. 3 of their top 5 scorers are guards for Arizona. They're veterans, experienced. And they just really overall run through them, but also their center, Umar Ballo. He's a 7-foot, 260-pound center from Mali.
Dude's a mountain.
He is a mountain, and he plays like it. He is everything and anything.
How tall is Wimby?
Wimby is 7'4".
Jeez.
So, but this guy, 7 foot's no slouch either.
No.
And he's an incredible shot blocker. He knows how to finish around the rim. He's actually more of a skilled big man than a lot of people will give him credit for.
Huh.
But yeah, he is the guy averaging 12 and 6 right now on 68% shooting from the field. That's basically 2 out of every 3 shots you're making.
Dang.
So he's the man that is going to be tasked with guarding the former player of the year in Zach Edey for Purdue. That one is going to be a matchup worth watching. If you love college basketball at all, that alone is going to put people in seats. Edey doing his thing, averaging 24 and 10 on 63% shooting for Purdue. they kind of had just their one loss, kind of an upset loss to Northwestern, a big reason why they're ranked actually.
Yeah.
In overtime. But outside of that, they've really taken care of business. Their last win was against Alabama, 92-86. Purdue, again, they're a smart veteran team. A lot of guys returned from last year's team. They know what to kind of expect in this environment. But it is in Arizona, so that could be the tipping point edge in this one. For Andrew's sake, they don't have actually the odds yet or the spread. So we're giving it a little more time, but yeah, it's going to be interesting. That's going to be the big matchup in terms of before next week that you should watch.
Yeah.
I want to also just touch on Kansas. Kansas really bounced back. They had an early loss to Marquette in the Maui Invitational Tournament, and since then they've kind of rebounded. They beat number 4 UConn 69-65. Hunter Dickinson, he's just one of those guys that, again, he doesn't play the biggest, but he is in fact a large human, and he, plain and simple, just knows how to make winning plays. Obviously Kevin McCullough, who Andrew very much misses. He's a former Tech guy. He is balling. 19, 7, and 5. He's leading the way for the Kansas Jayhawks. Man, they're loaded. The thing is with them, and I kind of worry about this a little bit with Kansas, is, again, because Dickinson doesn't play the biggest, so they don't have a true traditional big man.
Mm-hmm.
They may be exposed to some of these top teams that have, like a Zach Edey or a Balo, that can really punish them inside. And Dickinson, I mean, they have guys on the bench that could potentially help out or sub in, but that's not your traditional lineup. So it's always kind of like the saying in sports that you want your opponent to play your game. You don't want to play your opponent's game.
Yeah.
So look, Kansas, they sit at number 2 right now. I still like them to win the Big 12. I know Andrew, I think, said on the last podcast that he believes in Baylor, who is 9-0, but I like the Jayhawks. Give credit to Baylor, though. They're undefeated. They've got Michigan State coming up on the 16th, and then they've got Duke, which isn't the same Duke, but at least it'll give us more of a kind of floor for them. It'll be their first ranked matchup of the year, believe it or not.
Yeah.
So we'll see kind of how legit the Baylor Bears are in Waco. I'll give credit to Houston. They're become the first 10-0 team, at least in the top 10. Again, haven't played a lot of competition. They're kind of making the transition over from a lower conference over to the Big 12, obviously.
Yep.
Yeah, the Big 12 stacked. So they realize, hey, we don't need the strength of schedule with the committee. We know we're going to be one of the best teams in the year. Let's just kind of get through this opening part.
I'm happy I complained about North Carolina being ahead of OU because literally in 2 weeks they play North Carolina.
Yes.
So I'm happy to see that. And then just looking at OU's schedule,
Mm-hmm.
their bottom half, if you look at it, is a tough one.
Yeah. Once they get into conference play.
Yeah, because at that point, let's see here. So again, on the 20th, December 20th, they play North Carolina, right?
Yep.
And then you kind of go through, let's see here, TCU 10. Okay, here you go. On January 13th, Kansas.
Mm-hmm.
And then West Virginia, Cincinnati. Then you go Texas on the 23rd.
Yep.
For Andrew's sake, Tech on there.
Mm-hmm.
Kansas State. And then, let's see here, BYU in February. And then Baylor basically 2 weeks after that. And then after Baylor, you go right back to Kansas again. And then you're hitting Houston and Texas to like end your schedule as well.
Yeah.
They got an interesting
stuff.
That is a bottom heavy half schedule.
Yeah, and
it's not really spread out like a lot. And that is fully loaded at the end.
So basically, once they hit the New Year's, when they kind of
oh yeah, they're literally going, here's all the competition you can play.
Yeah. So I mean, obviously, we'll wait and see what those teams look like at that point.
Yeah,
but yeah,
some could drop off and some could be stepping up and playing lights out. So
and North Carolina, obviously, they've got some guys. R.J. Davis leading them in scoring with 21 a game. Armando Bacot, he is a force down low. So obviously, we'll see how OU adjusts to it. But North Carolina, yeah. Speaking of which, they're looking at their schedule. They obviously, before they play even Oklahoma, they play Kentucky on the 16th, which will be a big game for them. Their only losses coming against Villanova and UConn. So obviously, North Carolina looks to be in the mix in terms of just, blue blood doing what blue bloods do. Speaking of UConn, they round out the top 5 here. They've beaten Texas, lost to Kansas, but beat North Carolina. They're a team that, again, defending national champs, they're going to be in it to win it.
Yep. So, Colin, since I'm wearing my OU hoodie and we talked about OU, you're wearing your North Texas.
I am wearing.
Let's shine some light on North Texas.
I'm so glad that you brought that up. Let's pull up the standings here for the American Conference, where our North Texas Mean Green. Here, let me pull it up here. We currently sit at 5-4. Again, this is the first year without our former head coach, our former leader, and our big-time shot maker, who, thank you, Tyler Perry, for all the work that you did, but I'm happy you're doing work in Kansas State. But yeah, North Texas in a new era. We're not going to be in terms of the same team under head coach Ross Hodge. He was the kind of defensive-minded head coach whenever we were under our previous regime, and understandably, he had to do what he had to do. Went over to Texas Tech. We're in a transitional period for sure. Moving into a conference, competing with teams like SMU, teams like Florida Atlantic. We're kind of more in the middle fielder a little bit, and whereas in Conference USA, we kind of ran the show there for a little bit, along with Florida Atlantic, and then oh my goodness, UAB for years. So it's a new era. We are going to be getting into our schedule similar to OU, kind of whenever the schedule hits. Just looking off the top here, Wichita State, that should be a good game. Scrolling on down here, SMU on the 25th of January, FAU on the 28th. That's going to be a live game. And then, of course, UAB always plays us tough on the 31st. So, yeah, we've got some guys left over from the previous regime. Obviously, leading the way, Aaron Scott from Spring, Texas. I actually interviewed him back when I was at UNT. He's a really likable guy. He's a big body forward who can score anywhere from probably like 12 feet and in. Really has worked on his shooting, worked on his game, become more of an all-around player. He's kind of leading the way now. Reuben Jones, also another guard, leading the way from my time at UNT. I just think North Texas, anytime you step up in competition, there's always kind of that initial pushback. And we're just kind of going through it right now. I mean, our losses aren't even bad losses. We've lost to St. John by 1, LSU by 4, which, good Lord, Boise State by 5, and then we lost by 1 to Fordham. So we're in all these games. I don't consider us in terms of like being out of it by any means, but if UNT fans are expecting them to compete for the American this year, it might be a little out of our reach, I'm not going to lie. But I'm really interested to see when we go up against the Memphises, the Florida Atlantics, the SMUs, those whole schools, how we really match up. And that's going to be the most exciting part of the season because obviously, we miss our guy McCaslin over there in Tech, and appreciate everything you did for us because McCaslin was by far the best coach we ever had in our history. So had a lot of good times, but we're looking into a new era now.
All right, well, that about wraps it up with college basketball. Well, let's move on over to the big leagues because the in-season tournament has ended, but we're here to talk about it. LeBron James
wins NBA in-season tournament numero uno, gets in-season tournament MVP, and secures $500,000 for each members of the Lakers roster.
Just like the script wrote.
So here's the thing, right? I'm not gonna lie. Here's the
right.
thing. If the script were written, they would have had him play the Bucks. Let's be honest, instead of the Pacers, which I love Tyrese Halliburton. And here's the thing, my only regret when making my predictions, because I didn't have great predictions when predicting this kind of short bracket. I mean, again, we're not sure necessarily the first time seeing this tournament.
It's such a weird format.
But here's the thing. Tyrese Halliburton has arrived. He is a superstar. You cannot name 5 point guards better than him. And the only thing I regret is I wasn't higher on him when we did our predictions last week. I was kind of nervous sitting there looking at his potential bracket that he was going up against. He shined. He's there. He's ready to go. So I want to give him credit before we get into the Lakers part. The Lakers did take care of business, winning the in-season tournament, 123 to 109, and really what wasn't a close contest. They actually beat the Pelicans 133 to 89 in that semifinal whenever they got to Vegas. Star of the night in terms of points was Anthony Davis. He had one of those just classic, I'm just going to go off and there's nothing you can do about it. And when he feels like it, he can do it. 41 and 20 rebounds. Absolutely insane from the big man. LeBron added in 24, 11, and 4. And then D'Angelo Russell had a solid night with 13 points and 28 points off the bench. Austin Reeves really showing his worth after just signing an extension this past offseason with the Lakers. Listen, the Pacers are a young team. They'll grow. They'll learn from this. This is a big point in them. But in terms of the Lakers winning this tournament, I think here's what I'll say. In terms of actual seriousness and like with LeBron, right? Because at this point, LeBron's going to be unanimously associated with Jordan. Who's better? LeBron, Mike, right? And in terms of actual adding to his legacy, this doesn't really add too much because, again, Jordan didn't have the in-season tournament when he played. But what I will say is the fact that LeBron James won a tournament first time goes to show that if the NBA were like March Madness, how many, championships would Mike and LeBron have won? Because certainly, 7 games, the better team wins 99% of the time. Very rarely is a bad team going to beat another bad team 4 out of 7. Like, it just doesn't happen, right? But in a one-game scenario, right, some teams may not be shooting the best. Some teams might not show up. Sometimes they have injuries.
Play your A game.
Right. And LeBron James, historically, outside of that one series in 2011, and then there was a series in Boston in 2008, but irregardless, right? For the most of his adult prime in basketball, he has been the most consistent, especially in his generation of playing. He's been the most consistent superstar in Game 7s, winner-go-home games, whatever you want to call it.
I don't know if Skip would agree with you.
Yeah, well, Skip for a reason. Likewise, Jordan in his era was clearly the guy. So I realistically, I don't know
Keywords there are eras. Though.
Right, exactly. Jordan, in his respect, right, because he only played a certain amount of years, I think he realistically could have gotten close to double digits. And same with LeBron.
Sure.
It would have really just changed the landscape, but also what this brings up, and then we can kind of get into the more broad of the NBA. I talk about LeBron, and I mentioned, somebody asked me the other day, they're like, hey, who's your top 5 players? And I didn't mention LeBron because I was sitting there thinking, okay, over the course, like, yeah, for, a season or like a series, his body just wears down. I mean, he's in year 21 at age 39.
Yeah. Like,
you can't ask him to be that elite, unstoppable player that he was in his, mid 30s to late 20s, right?
Yep.
What I will say is now after watching this in-season tournament, it really kind of just confirmed what I thought about the second part of that sentence, which is, however, in a one-game scenario for your life, there are not 5 players on this planet that are better than LeBron that you'd want to have on your team. Because he just simply, with his knowledge of the game, the fact that he still, when he wants to, can play defense at a high level, can still distribute at a high level, score at a high level. It's a lot of guys in this league can't do what LeBron can do on a night-in, night-out basis. And that's why we have to give respect today for King James, LeBron James. But yeah, congratulations to the Lakers on winning the in-season tournament. I would also expect the Lakers maybe to kind of take it easy over the next week as they kind of recoup, because obviously that's really draining going into a playoff atmosphere like that. But also, Adam Silver, congratulations. You are making the NBA relevant pre-Christmas, which is exactly what they strive to do with this in-season tournament. And also, getting some money to the players, which is nice. And also, put a team in Vegas. Just put a team in Vegas. That was such an electric atmosphere. I don't know if you watch any of the games. It was phenomenal.
I mean, Vegas would just make sense.
Yeah.
As one of the expansion teams.
Vegas and Seattle. I just don't think about it.
You and Seattle.
We need a team, man. And we have literally an arena ready to go.
Hey, give Kansas one.
Kansas can wait. Kansas can wait. Anyways, we're going to roll through each conference here, the standings. Boston leads the East, followed by Orlando, Milwaukee, Philadelphia, Indiana, Cleveland, Brooklyn, New York, Miami, and Atlanta ran out the top 10. In the East, in the West, we got Minnesota, followed by Oklahoma City, Dallas, Denver, Los Angeles, Sacramento, Phoenix, Houston, LA Clippers, New Orleans Pelicans, round out the top 10. Here's the thing. We kept saying it last year, right? Because we had teams, whenever we do this, you remember this, where they would start off hot and then they kind of fade off, right? Like young teams do that. They want to get out, they want to strut their stuff, and then the veterans come in. It's like, all right, now I'm warmed up here. Yeah, let's get in here, right? I don't know if Orlando's going to go away, man. Orlando, to me, has built an impressive group that really just coincides together. I mean, Paolo Banchero, former number 1 overall pick, we knew what he was going to be about. Both the Wagners, Franz and Moritz, they're balling out. Franz averaging 20.7 along with Paolo Banchero. Cole Anthony, finally a guard that is dependable and is able to drop a consistent 15 points in Orlando. God, how long have they been waiting for that? You also have Jalen Suggs and Markelle Fultz. Markelle Fultz, who reinvented himself as being also a former number 1 overall pick, who had kind of some rocky moments there in his career. And then Jalen Suggs just being the absolute dog on the defensive end, really not afraid to pick up anybody on the perimeter. He's making his mark known. This is a solid core, along with Wendell Carter, that is able to, I think, in my opinion, they may not be able to win the championship, but in terms of competing in the first round, maybe even winning a playoff series, Yeah, the Magic are it. And this has been so long since the Magic have been able to say that. God, I mean, they've been in the playoffs, but I want to say since the Dwight Howard days, right? With Jameer Nelson and Hito Turkoglu and Rashard Lewis and all them.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a long time for Orlando, and I'm going to keep singing their praises because they deserve it. So,
Fair enough.
yeah, Boston, Milwaukee, they're at where I expect them to be. Milwaukee, like I said, I think they're a move away. Boston, as long as health, again, knock on wood for them, they're fine. Philly, where I kind of expect them to be. Indiana, shout out Tyrese Halliburton. Covers in the East, to be honest. We'll see kind of just how the rest of the landscape shades out over there. In terms of the West, young teams rule. Minnesota, they're a team that's built for the regular season. They have a nice blend of veterans, but also a little bit of youth with Anthony Edwards. Him finally taking that next step is really what's going to put them over the top and potentially lead them into a second, potentially even Western Conference Finals. But it's also the help with, Karl Anthony Towns. The fact that now he doesn't have to be a 1, he has to be a 2. He can work off of that. That's perfect for Karl Anthony Towns' role. Gobert, defend and score at the rim. That's all Rudy Gobert can do. That's all you need him to do. You also Mike Conley leading the ship. I'm going to keep saying it, Jaden McDaniels. I like Kyle Anderson, Alexander Walker. Like, they have guys on the wings, too, that can defend and score. And I just think that the Timberwolves are in a really good spot. And they got a lot of depth in their front court, too, so they're set with Towns, Gobert, and also Naz Reid. This is a really good team, man. This is a really good team. The only thing I could potentially see is how their guard depth looks potentially whenever Ant and Conley might have to go to the bench, but maybe you just stagger their minutes to where they don't have to do that.
Yeah.
The Timberwolves are good. Oklahoma City Thunder, they probably have the rookie of the year. Here's the thing. I want to throw this meme at you because you're pretty good with memes. You ever seen the old Oklahoma City Thunder meme where it's like mom made pizza rolls and it's Kevin Durant, Russ, and James Harden being like, Well, crazy enough, this new generation of Thunder players, right, recreated that meme. And Chet Holmgren posted to his Instagram being like, mom made pizza rolls, and it's them screaming, doing kind of similar things. And it just goes, like, I remember the Thunder when I was in, because they moved to Oklahoma City in 2008 after Kevin Durant was drafted in Seattle back in 2007. Yeah. And that meme was like 2010, 2011, like when we were in high school, basically, that meme first came out. And to now see like the reincarnation of it with, Shea, Chet, and Lou Dort, it's like, oh my God, like how old are we? Like I saw that and it was just like,
we have aged.
We have aged. But Shea's legit. Shea's awesome. Jalen Williams is also awesome. Chet, Lou Dort, the whole crew. The thing is, they got to just figure out how to win, which they've gotten some impressive wins over the Mavericks and Warriors as of late. But getting into a playoff series, like a new environment for a lot of those guys, will be tough to tell. Denver, Los Angeles, Sacramento, Phoenix, Houston, they're all going to be kind of in the mix of things. They're just kind of veterans that haven't really, like you said, they're still kind of warming up a little bit.
Yep.
Mavericks, they kind of escaped the scare. Kyrie Irving bumped legs with Dwight Powell, and they thought he potentially either sprained or broke something. It turns out to be a bone bruise, which is a lot less
better.
Yeah, a lot less concerning than what they initially thought. So he's considered kind of day-to-day, week-to-week. Luka, though, still him, 31, 8, and 8. Literally leading the team in everything except blocks, which Derek Lively is, their rookie. He's really good. They've kind of figured things out in Dallas, which is nice. We'll see kind of how the rest of the season takes off for them. But, yeah, that's pretty much everything in the NBA. Oh, did we get, I don't know if it actually happened. Okay. No. So, what's today? Monday. Tomorrow, last thing before we switch. The Phoenix Suns Big Three finally debuts together for the first time all season tomorrow night versus the Golden State Warriors. Big game. It's going to be on TNT. Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, and Kevin Durant going against Kevin Durant's former team in Golden State. That one's going to be box office. That's one I'm definitely going to make sure I'm going to be tuning into. So,
noise.
Yeah, big, because if that nucleus right there would be the only thing I could realistically see challenging Denver in the West. Respect to those younger teams at the top, but Denver's probably still the favorite. If this Phoenix thing works, look out. So,
all righty. Well, that about does it for the NBA. Let's move it on over to some Heisman Trophy winners. Spoiler alert, it's not Bo Nix. Speaking of Bo Nix,
I know, right?
where's your jersey?
Do you not read your text that I send you? Oh, by the way, it did. So it was 13th to the 19th. They got changed to the 12th or the 20th. So it's in that 8-day range. Yeah.
Ugh,
So it's whenever it gets here, it gets here.
disrespectful.
What do you? How are you gonna blame me? It's freaking ridiculous. Look,
All this for Bo Nix.
I know, right? It's here. You know
Who would
what?
have thought his jersey was that popular?
I guess so, dude. Freaking Andrew brought it up at the Christmas party.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, and freaking Maddie she was like, "Why do you hate Bo?" I was like, "I don't hate him. I'm the only one that's
Maddie.
I'm the only one that's critical on this meme or on this man. Excuse me, on this meme.
You're calling him a meme now?
Yeah, right. No,
That's
here's
your future quarterback.
speaking of which, I wanted to tell y'all this. I was hoping Andrew was going to be here today. During my interview process, they asked me indirectly about Bo Nix.
You're like, you sons of bitches.
I'm not even kidding. I don't know if they listen to the podcast or not, but they literally, because the guy that was interviewing me, he does Raider stuff, and he asked me straight up,
What's your thoughts on Bo Nix?
well, no, he asked me, out of the 3 Heisman finalists, quarterbacks, who should the Raiders draft? And I gave my honest assessment of all 3, and they literally looked at each other and were like, guy knows ball. So,
Who'd you say they should draft?
The Heisman Trophy winner, Mr. Jayden Daniels. Here's the thing, right? Jayden Daniels wins the 2023 Heisman Trophy award, and rightfully so. He is the 20th. It's the 20th time this century a quarterback has won the Heisman, and Daniels is LSU's 3rd Heisman winner, following quarterback Joe Burrow in 2019, and the 1959 winner, halfback Billy Cannon. So a little trivia knowledge there for you. Daniels received 503 first-place votes and 2,029 total points. Washington quarterback Michael Penix was second in voting with 292 and 1701, respectively. Bo Nix was third, followed by Marvin Harrison. And then I believe fifth was Jordan Travis, who didn't get invited to the ceremony, but he was top 5 in the Heisman voting.
Man, you don't get invited, and they don't let you get in playoffs.
Bro, somebody tweeted out because Florida State posted hey, Jordan Travis finishes 5th in the Heisman.
Yeah, so you're happy with 5th.
5th place. Oh my God, I about cried. I was like, oh my God.
They kind of have to be, since the committee says that's where they belong.
Yeah, and here's the thing. So here's the thing about all these quarterbacks, right? They're all very similar in this regard. They all were transfers. They all had to overcome things. They weren't nationally regarded. Well, I think.
Well,
Bo
most of them didn't have teammates saying that they were trash.
Right, and I mean,
looking at you, FSU.
Oh, well. Here's the thing with well, no, it was Arizona State.
Oh, you're right. It was Arizona State.
My bad. I was trying to think of the reference. Yeah. Here's the thing. So a lot of it to overcome. I mean, obviously, Penix had multiple injuries at Indiana before he switched over to Wisconsin.
Yep.
Or Washington, excuse me. Bo Nix obviously had what happened at Auburn. Then he transferred over to Oregon, found a new home there. And then Jayden Daniels, as Brennan mentioned, he moved from Arizona State and became a stud at LSU.
Crazy what good coaching can do.
Jayden Daniels, 5,000 almost 5,000 total yards, 50 total touchdowns. He should have won it. That's not here what I'm mainly wanting to discuss. The thing in terms of translating, right? Because I truly think this is how the draft orders, in some capacity. I don't agree that these 3 guys should be taken in the first round, because I have my questions about all of them. And I'll get into the explanation of why. I think Drake May and Caleb Williams are the only for sure first round guys that I would take, without even thinking about it. Right,
Drake May fits really well in most teams, schemes and schematics.
He's really mechanical,
yep.
Really smart, and he's got a big arm. Really smart playmaker. He's just got to work on his accuracy, but that comes with reps and everything.
Caleb Williams is going to be more your playmaker, scrambling around, trying to move the ball.
Can literally single-handedly carry an offense. Has got the arm angles and everything, arm talent. Can also run, all of that. Right, so clearly those guys. My questions are with these next 3. And again, I necessarily wouldn't, and some people might even consider this a hot take. I don't know if I would necessarily. They are going to get drafted in the first round. But whenever I say in my mind, hey, I believe this guy's going to be a first round quarterback, I have little to no doubts. I can see a path that regardless of the situation they go in, because we can't predict necessarily where they're going to go. I mean, we kind of know with Caleb and Drake where they're going to go. But I think even if it was flipped, like New England and Chicago flipped their picks, for example. I think Drake May and Caleb Williams are going to succeed irregardless of their situation, which to me, that signifies a first-round pick. These guys, Jayden Daniels, Bo Nix, and Michael Penix, I think it depends where they go and the coaching staff that they get and the talent around them and all of that. And not to say that those guys can't succeed on the next level, but I just think that it's going to be, conducive on the team that drafts them. With Penix, right? He's a guy, I think he's got an NFL talent arm, can sling that thing.
Yep.
His problem, again, injury health, the fact that he's not mobile, and the fact that also, like, he did have 3 NFL receivers that he's throwing to, and Odunze, McMillan, and Polk. Like, all 3 of those guys are going to get drafted.
Yarp.
And not to, I mean, you can't take that away from him, obviously, but in terms of, like, it is the fact of the matter. Like, he was throwing to NFL guys. Like, he had a lot of talent around him. Not to say that he's not talented or shouldn't be drafted, but it's a question mark, right?
Yeah.
Bo Nix, okay? We saw what happened at Auburn. Dan Letting, to his credit, built a superpower team around him in Oregon. I mean, we literally saw it. Against Colorado, they just bullied them off the field, and they did that to a lot of teams.
Yeah.
Right? Surrounded with Bucky Irvin. Troy Franklin, I think, is going to be probably a day 2 pick at receiver. And Nix, while he can move, I don't see elite I don't see him being Lamar Jackson or Justin Fields or Kyler Murray, right?
Yeah.
And he doesn't, to me, have the biggest arm. I mean, can he throw the ball downfield? Yeah, but I wouldn't say he's a top 5 arm talent guy in terms of like a Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Matt Stafford, whomever, right? He's a guy that, again, if you plug him in a system, maybe he could work, right? And then you get to Jayden Daniels, which is the guy that I answered, and I think could be the most successful guy out of these 3 because he's an elite runner. He is just one of the best runners from the quarterback position, is a pure playmaker, can throw the ball downfield, can throw with accuracy, and is just a guy that, again, he did have Malik Neighbors. Let's not take that away from him because Neighbors is going to probably be potentially the second best wide receiver taken off the board. But LSU, throughout their entire year, we saw it. They can't play defense. They were using Harold Perkins in coverage, which was one of the best rushers in this draft.
Mm-hmm.
He had to overcome that. He had to overcome so many just deficiencies. He was not their problem this year. Now, do I wonder about him playing in the structure of the offense, potentially how he processes, all that kind of things about being a quarterback. But the thing with Daniels is he has talents that you cannot teach. You can potentially develop him over time. Now, again, it relies on him potentially getting in the right situation and, succeeding and putting the work in, all that stuff, like a lot of these guys are. But if you're asking me, okay, first round guy out of those 3, who would you take? If I'm a team that's sitting there in the back half of the top 10 after, presumably Daniels or Caleb Williams and Drake May go, I'm going to pick Daniels simply for the fact that I think he is the guy that's most likely to be a superstar. I think he's going to be the guy that if he works, if somebody can figure out the secret sauce with Jayden Daniels, he could potentially be a tier 1 guy, which is ultimately when you draft a first rounder, you hope he's a tier 1 guy. You don't hope that he's Kirk Cousins, Geno Smith. You don't hope that he's a Derek Carr or something like that. Like, there's guys that are successful quarterbacks, don't get me wrong, and that'll have multiple years and even sign a contract or 2 extension.
You're wanting to hit on like the Tom Brady's, the Patrick Mahomes, the Josh Allens,
exactly.
Lamar Jacksons.
Like, you sit there, right, and there's been a lot of guys drafted in the first round that you're like, hey, listen, they worked out, but there was better guys on the board. Or maybe if we hadn't taken a quarterback. And I think, personally, you look at all the guys' names, right? Caleb, there's usually, unless you count the 2020 or 2021, the draft with like Tua, Burrow, Herbert, Jordan Love, Jalen Hurts was also taken in the second round, by the way. Like, that class is kind of the outlier. Normally, when you take a draft class, you have 1, maybe 2 quarterbacks that explode and are worth the draft value. So if you're asking me if there's a potential third, which is already a stretch, I would go with Jayden Daniels. And he won the Heisman Trophy Award. Deservedly so. He was the most electrifying best player in college football this year. And congrats to him because he's put in the work in. I love his story. And he's going to make an NFL team potentially very happy. So, yeah. What are you reading there, Brendan?
Shohei's contract details just came out.
Oh,
Good
nice.
old and Jeff we trust.
All right.
So we'll get back on this tangent now that we kind of wrapped up college football there.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, back to baseball.
Yeah. Sure. I was like, you don't need to play the whole thing.
That's what. No, it was just a little blip.
Okay.
Back to Shohei. $700 million. So contract calls for him to only be paid $2 million a year for the next 10 seasons, with $680 million deferred until the end of the deal.
So that basically means that
The CBT hit on the contract is going to be around $46 million. So LA just got an insane discount.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is absolutely insane.
Well, it's not even a discount. They really just basically essentially said, "Hey, we're pushing this money back. Like we can, and you can work in with like signing bonuses and all that stuff to get
Shohei's around the taxes too."
Exactly. So Shohei's going to get his money irregardless. Like that's locked in. But the Dodgers smartly said, "Hey, listen, we're going to have to do it a certain way because if we want to afford you and keep this great team around you, this is what we got to do."
So basically, signed a 10-year deal, $20 million contract, and he will then make $68 million every year from 2034 to 2043.
Yeah.
This is a weird contract.
I think it's smart. I really do. I think it's one of those things. Again, it's an historic contract, but okay.
Well, it's will the MLB uphold it though too?
Well, are you familiar with how contracts kind of like this work?
So I get like you can push a lot back. Well, the back half or pay up front.
No, that's not what I was getting at. So basically, when a team signs a guy like this to a big contract, right? They have what's known as like an escrow account. You're familiar with escrow, right, Brendan?
Yeah. Sorry, I'm reading about the.
Okay. So basically, right, they take this money from escrow.
Because MLB has stuff about deferred comp on there.
Right. So basically, this will be, excuse me. This account will be, kind of sitting there wired and everything. Some teams, the Dodgers are not like this. Sometimes don't have the money right away to pay this kind of money. Now, over the course of the contract, I would assume they will make payouts to Ohtani to kind of like, hey, here's some extra money to kind of feed you through or whatever. Because here's the thing. Shohei's not getting paid $20 million, and that's just the duration of the 10 years. That's not how it's going to work.
No, it's not. He's going to get the money.
Right.
Here's the interesting thing. So for the MLB, and when they did the collective bargaining agreement, deferred money is limitless.
There you go.
So like per article in deferred compensation and MLB's rules, there shall be no limitations on either the amount of deferred compensation or the percentage of total compensation attributable to deferred compensation of which a uniform player's contract may provide. That is interesting, and it will change MLB contracts forever.
Yeah, and honestly, the thing is
smart on them.
Yeah, exactly. Like the Dodgers.
You found a way around it.
Exactly. Because here's the thing: this is a contract that exceeds. We talked about it earlier.
Like managers and owners.
Well, Mike Trout's contract by hundreds of millions of dollars. So this was going to be a record break. This was going to be a new precedented deal, irregardless. So the fact that Shohei is like, okay, listen, this is how it's going to work.
Yep.
Okay. And again, they could always shift stuff around, and if they want to pay him a certain amount, go for it. I would be shocked if this is how the structure stays throughout the duration of the contract.
Yeah, and I mean, what they're going to do is probably what most teams start to do is you go sell off part of the contract. If you do a trade down the road, you're trying to push it off. I mean, shoot, the kid's still getting paid to this day.
Right.
So,
yeah.
Crazy.
Again, they're paying, they're spiting Peter to pay Paul, or however the phrase goes. I think it's smart by the Dodgers. Yeah, they found a loophole. That plain and simple, they did. Based on everything you just told us.
Yep. Drake May just declared for the draft.
Yeah, well, shocker. So there we go. Getting back to college football, rounding it out here, little Shohei detour.
Sorry about that. It's like Aaron Judge again, interrupting everything.
Yeah, and here's the thing, like it. That's I'm sure.
Little throwback to that episode.
Yeah, a little throwback to a lot of things, but credit to Jayden Daniels. He wins the Heisman. If you're the Vikings, right? You're the Vikings, right? You're probably not going to get Drake May or Caleb, but you could potentially trade up for one of these three guys. Who would you take? Seriously. Like, forget. You can make it a
Which
meme
three?
So it's Daniels, Penix, or Nix. Or Nix. And those guys, here's the thing. They're probably all going to get drafted in the first round. They're not all going to – there's no chance that all five of them are going to be first-round guys because that would literally just –
No. Yeah, I'd probably go Daniels.
Makes sense, right?
Yeah, because then after that, I mean, take your pick between Penix and Nix at that point. It's really just a coin flip.
That's what I'm saying.
So.
And again, I like at least with Penix, I have the NFL arm.
Yeah, and that's what I was thinking. And then, I mean, Bo Nix has the IQ.
Yeah. Oh, here's the thing. The biggest thing that kept him from being a first-round quarterback in years past was his decision-making.
Yes.
He greatly improved that this year, and credit to him.
Yeah.
He doesn't, to me, have, again, maybe as a leader, because I remember Dan Lanning said, like, he babysits his kids.
Yeah.
So he trusts them in that regard, which, I mean, okay, no, and I mean, this is not a shot at Bo Nix, but, like, depending on what he did, I mean, heck, I can freaking sit there and just be like, hey, here's some ice cream. Don't complain. Here's TV.
Let's play Fortnite
or something. Yeah. Like, here's what I will say. If Nix is truly like an elite caliber, like leader, or like just tools, or just like as a character, that's one thing.
You want to see him like what CJ Stroud did with Houston, lead that locker room, and you want to go in there and create a culture.
And even then, CJ Stroud, like he had, I think personally, better tools than Nix does. But even then, if Nix is like that, then he can succeed. But we don't know that. Yeah. Like, we can hear all the people say, oh, yeah, he's, because you don't want to hurt the guy or be mean. But when it comes down to the rubber meets the road, we'll see. That's my whole thing with Bo Nix is just I don't see the elite traits of a first-round QB. That's all I've ever said.
And he could prove us wrong. And
he
so
could.
Be it.
He could. And
we are A-okay being proven wrong. We'd like to see it more.
I mean, I'm about to say, I'm wearing a jersey because of it. So he gets at least that, if nothing else. So
there you go. Well, that about wraps it up for college football / Shohei again. Let's get into NFL. Well, we had some games.
Yeah, we did.
And we had some good ones.
Yes, we did.
Let's just real quick recap. Why am I not getting my recaps pulled up here?
You want me to go?
Yes.
Okay. So
just pulled it up.
Okay.
But go ahead.
I was about to say, so you want to start with Thursday night, right? Go chronologically.
Yep.
Here's going to be the theme of today's NFL recap / talk, from my side at least. The death of defensive-minded head coaches. Starting off with two of the greatest, right, of all time, Bill Belichick and Mike Tomlin. This game was abysmal. 21-18, the Patriots got the win. Mike Tomlin loses to two teams that are, 8 games under 500 for the first time ever. No other team in NFL history has ever done that. So Tomlin loses to the Cardinals and then now the Patriots in consecutive games. Bailey Zappi, 3 touchdowns on 19 of 28, 240. Zeke, I think, had a really good night Thursday night.
Weird.
Trubisky was the guy for Pittsburgh. He looked 22 of 35, 190 for a touchdown and a pick. He actually led the Steelers in rushing as well. So here's my thing. It's Bill Belichick just can't figure this stuff out in today's NFL. His style worked growing up when defenses kind of had more leeway and had more strength than they do now. Offenses, with the rule changes, with the skill of quarterbacks coming out, with the skill of wide receivers, and everything, and the inventiveness, I guess you could say, of offensive-minded guys, these guys are being just they're not the same level of coaches that they once were. And Mike Tomlin, he might still pull out a 9-8 out of his ass, like somehow. The fact that they still haven't been able to rebuild the offensive line in like 5 years. The fact that, again, they drafted Kenny Pickett, a guy that most people thought probably was a day 2 guy whenever he was coming out of Pittsburgh. They drafted him in the first. They have wide receivers. Like, these teams, Patriots don't have any talent. Like, Bill is just...
they're really at the bottom of the barrel.
But if you look around the league, right, and I did this count today, in the AFC... there's 5 offensive head coaches that are currently in the playoffs. 5 out of the 7. In the NFC, it's 6. So out of the 14 total playoff positions, there's 11 of them are offensive-minded head coaches. And two of them that are highly ranked, John Harbaugh, they have Lamar Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
And Sean McDermott, he's not in the playoffs currently, but he also has Josh Allen that's keeping him afloat. And we all agree that McDermott, will get into him later. He's got his own issues.
Please get fired.
Granted, Harbaugh's also a special team coach, but regardless, Pete Carroll, again, former Super Bowl winning head coach of my team. We'll get into it. Again, the further he gets away from Russ, the further he looks like he has control of the franchise. And his defense doesn't even look that great.
Yeah.
Yet we're seeing guys, okay, Cincinnati, right? We'll talk about them in a second. Jake Browning comes in. Back up. He was never a guy that was supposed to even sniff the field coming out of Washington. Zach Taylor's made him look like a competent NFL quarterback these last 2 weeks. What's his face? Josh Dobbs. Kevin O'Connell got the most out of Joshua Dobbs. For that brief stretch, and now it looks like Dobbs, after getting benched for Nick Mullins, he's kind of come down to earth a little bit. But still, O'Connell was able to get the most out of Dobbs. Like, if you're an offensive-minded head coach, you can at least compete or at least float. Whereas if you're a defensive head coach and you have to go to a Trubisky or a Bailey Zappi, you're stunk. You're sunk. And it's just rough in this game. Again, going back to the Thursday night regular of bad primetime games.
God, there's so many this year. It's been abysmal.
Yeah. And,
And guess what? It continues on Monday night tonight.
Yeah, with Titans, Dolphins, and then Packers, Giants. So at least the Dolphins might make their game at least a little interesting. So
the Dolphins, they're just
by
going to
the
blow
way,
out the Titans.
I'm going to say this right now. If I got to look this up because I've got two. This is to make the playoffs, by the way.
Oh, yeah. So I already got it locked into our fantasy football playoffs. Colin is fighting for his life.
So because Justin looks like he's going to beat Connor, all but confirmed basically at this point.
Yeah.
I have to not lose my matchup by 12.9 points or less. I get in. If I lose by 13 or more, I'm out.
Yep.
I'm currently losing in our matchup 76.7 to 88.34. So roughly 0.6. That's 11.6.
You're teetering.
Here's the thing. He's got Raheem Mostert left. I've got both Tua and Devon Achon. If I lose, if
Mostert goes off.
If Mostert outscores these two by what is that? What would that be? 1.2 or more, I'm gonna lose it wasn't meant to be.
Here comes the 50-point game.
I don't even know. Like it's
and then you'll be competing in the losers bracket.
I know. After having one of the
You'd be fine though.
After scoring like the fourth most points the entire fantasy season. So I'm paying attention to that game. Trust you me. I'm paying attention to that one. But getting back into regular schedule programming,
Buccaneers Falcons.
Yeah.
This was a game. It was a weird one. Drake London balled.
This is an NFC South game. This is exactly what it was.
Buccaneers came out on top 29-25.
Late drive by Baker. Clutch drive by Baker. He's
good old Baker making plays, showing that he still wants to play.
Yeah, I mean, in retrospect, he is, I would argue, one of the 32 best quarterbacks in the NFL. Is he a guy that's going to probably lead you to Super Bowl? No, but in a division like this, can he potentially win it?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, they're all three tied at the top right now, so we'll just see how it kind of comes down. But yeah, huge win over Atlanta in Atlanta, too.
Yep.
So
moving on over, the Bears beat the Lions. Weird game.
Goff did not have a great game. 20 of 35, 161, 2 interceptions. Okay, just to make sure. I don't think he had any fumbles or anything. Here's the thing. The Bears almost beat them like a couple weeks ago or however many weeks ago.
Yep.
In which Detroit had to roar back and, basically stave off. Fields is competing for his NFL life. If not with the Bears, maybe for the aforementioned Falcons or maybe the Steelers or whomever, right? So he's putting on a performance. He went 19 of 33, 223 and a touchdown. He also added 58 yards and a touchdown on the ground. He's playing for his life. The Bears are going to be a frisky out the rest of the season. Yep. And Fields, this was arguably one of his best performances, and there's something there. Like I'm not sure if he's ever going to be a franchise guy, like tier 2, tier 1 type of guy. But in terms of like being a starter, like we mentioned with Baker, a top 32 guy, I can't rule that out with Justin Fields yet. I've seen too many, there's too many just.
I mean, there's a lot of bad quarterbacks out there this year, and it's due to injuries too.
The worst that I can say for him is that he goes into the next season competing with somebody else for a starting job.
100%.
And I think realistically, depending on who it is, I'd like him in that matchup because I still think he's really talented. So,
all righty, moving on over. Bengals Colts played a ball game, so backup against backup QB.
Dude, and like I was saying, Jake Browning, he's looked okay. Like he's looked like not bending the water a little bit. 18 to 24, 275, 2 touchdowns. Did have a pick in this one, but he also added a touchdown on the ground. Joe Mixon also had a solid day, 21 carries for 79 yards and a touchdown. Also added 3 catches for 46 yards. Minshew, listen, you're gonna
Not
have
a bad
these,
game.
No, you're gonna have these games though where the Colts offense, like they were on an impressive run there for a minute. They had won, what was it, 4 straight games, so they were bound to kind of come back down to earth at some point.
The run game sure fell off this one.
Yeah, well, no Jonathan Taylor, that kind of hinders things. So Pittman had a fine game, but ultimately Cincinnati at home, they still feel very alive, and they're competing with the Colts for one of those final spots in the AFC, which, by the way, I don't know if you saw the standings. There are 11 teams in the AFC that have a winning record at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Insane. Jeez.
It's a fun time.
Yeah.
Moving on over, 2 teams basically with the same record again going at it. Jacksonville Jaguars versus the Cleveland Browns. Joe Flacco is him.
Do you want to talk about that meme you saw of Joe Flacco?
Oh, yeah. So it's the old space meme where it's like with the astronauts, Joe Flacco's elite, and the guy's looking at Earth, and the other one behind him, he always has been, has the gun to the guy's head.
Like Flacco, here's the thing. He's the best quarterback they've had in terms of like their backup kind of range for a minute now.
Dude, 311 yards.
3 touchdowns and interceptions. Like he can come in and execute this offense perfectly fine. It's not that they're going to compete for a Super Bowl or anything, but in terms of like even compete for the division, they can do it with Flacco. Yeah. And it's crazy to say.
Because T-Law came out there, 257 yards, 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions against, Cleveland's defense is just
insane.
The best right now.
Yeah, they're insane. Also, Trevor Lawrence, remember, he on Monday night had that high ankle sprain.
Yep.
He was some people were thinking he was going to be out multiple weeks. He said, no, I'm not even going to miss a game. He took whatever painkillers he needed to, and he's probably going to have to gut it out the rest of the season on that bad ankle. And you might get some more performances like this, but when also you get only 14 carries and 35 yards from ETN, it's not going to be great for you. Also, tight ends, by the way. 2 touchdowns for Njoku and 2 for Evan Ingram.
Dude, yeah.
Insane.
Weird game.
Insane.
Moving on over, Saints-Panthers. Saints won. I don't really need
Derek Carr somehow played in this one. They got an ugly win. It's Bryce Young to me had moments in this one, but when you go 13-36 for 137 yards, it's tough. Here's the thing. Getting back to briefly though, we talked about when we were doing the draft, right? We all said Bryce Young was our number 1 guy. Now y'all had C.J. Stroud higher. I had Anthony Richardson higher for like the second QB.
Yeah.
But it just goes to show you, like, again, like it's tough with these quarterbacks because everyone assumed that Bryce Young was going to be the guy.
Yeah, well, people were being like, C.J. Stroud didn't test good, so he must not be that great of a QB.
And some people play
I'm a football player, not a test taker.
Exactly. So it goes to show, like, hopefully for Bryce Young's sake that they get him a better offensive line, maybe get him a wide receiver other than Old Man Thielen.
You mean actually get him a team?
Right, exactly.
To help him?
Yeah.
Crazy.
So this is kind of a write-off year, but it's not looking good in Carolina. Because at least
like T-Law's first year.
Yeah. I don't know if Urban Meyer was in Carolina, but yeah, it's not too much.
He might be behind the scenes.
Right. Who knows?
Moving on over, like we said, C.J. Stroud, Houston went up against the Jets. Jets ended up on top. C.J. had no one to throw to. Nothing, no help. Ended up going down most likely with probably a concussion is what we're guessing.
He's in the protocol.
He's in protocol.
So here's the thing with Stroud.
Zach Wilson.
Yeah.
Good game.
Arguably one of his best games. 27-36, 301, 2 touchdowns. He's playing free.
Yeah.
He no longer has the pressure. He's just like, hey, you guys already benched me now twice.
He's like, what do I have to lose anymore?
Yeah, exactly. So, Breece Hall obviously benefited from this. He had 8 receptions for 86, along with Garrett Wilson, 9 for 108. Excuse me. The Jets now with Zach Wilson are a competent NFL offense. When they don't have Zach Wilson, they're not. C.J. Stroud, I will say this. He did lose Nico Collins early in that game to an ankle?
Yeah, and then Tank Dell's been out for the year. Dalton Schultz was out as well.
Yeah.
So literally the top 3 targets all gone.
Yeah, and it is tough. Stroud, listen, you got to be better than 10 of 23. The Jets do have a respectable defense. But yeah, this is one of those where you can't really blame Stroud. But at the same time, like, this is a learning curve moment for him because there are going to be times where injuries happen. And you have to be able to weather the storm.
That's a hard storm to ask any QB to weather, though.
It is. But, still, I need you to complete 50% of your passes. That's all I'm asking. Can you at least do 1 out of 2?
I
get it.
Not all of them were on him.
I not all of them. You're right, but
A lot of them were on.
I'm just saying
some of the people he's thrown to.
It's fair, but again, it's not like these guys are bums off the street. Like these are NFL caliber guys.
Nope.
So
moving on over to one of the fun games of the week that we got to watch.
Oh my
Rams Ravens. Lamar Jackson versus good old Matthew Stafford.
dude, this was arguably the best game of the 12 o'clock window.
Not arguably.
It was. Yeah. The Ravens went on a controversial punt return. Did you see that? The block in the back that was missed. So they kind of escaped with a win there, 37-31. Lamar, again, he's having to be MVP Lamar. Him and the guy that plays in Arlington are probably the two lead front runners, in my opinion.
316 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, not to mention his 11 carries for 70 yards.
Yeah.
It's almost like when we were saying with Buffalo, hey, QB shouldn't be your lead rusher.
Yeah, it's the same. No, it's the same thing, 100%. And they really do miss J.K. Dobbins. Obviously, Keaton Mitchell had a pretty good day today.
Yeah.
OBJ, by the way.
Yep.
Look, little
4
resurgence.
receptions, 97 yards, 1 touchdown. Hey,
yeah,
he has those weird games where he comes back, he balls out, and then he has another game where he's like not
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Zay Flowers also caught a touchdown. Isaiah Likely also got into the end zone. So shout out to the Ravens.
Passing the ball to everyone.
My main takeaway, though, was the Rams. They went against this Baltimore defense that's top 5 in the NFL, I think, on most statistics. Kyron Williams, able to run the ball. Sean McVay's run scheme, when they have a guy like this that can just give them the juice, clearly works. Matt Stafford, cutting them up. 23 of 41, 294, 3 touchdowns. Cooper Kupp looked like his old self, 8 for 115 and a touchdown.
Puka, 5 for 84.
Yeah, Demarcus Robinson also had a couple of nice catches in this one.
3 for 46.
And the defense, well, listen, it is Aaron Donald and a bunch of guys. Like, they at least compete their butts off. Like, they fight, they scratch, claw, do the whole thing. This Rams team, and I don't love saying this as a Seahawks fan, they're one of the teams that I think is going to sneak into one of those final playoff spots, and we're like sitting there being like, wait, what? We looked at this team as potentially competing for Caleb Williams, and they're going to find themselves in the playoffs. So credit to the Rams, credit to Sean McVay and this coaching staff. They did a marvelous job. The fact that they were able to compete with the Ravens like this late into the season, yeah, the Rams, who finally have a first-round pick, by the way.
Yep.
They're going to be potentially a tough team, moving towards the future that, it's not looking great for the rest of the NFC. Yep. They figure their crap out.
Moving on over.
We got
Vikings Raiders 3-0 Vikings.
So this ties the record for the lowest scoring game in NFL history. There has been a 0-0 tie multiple times in NFL history, as me and my brother found out. But in terms of lowest scoring games in the year of 2023, there was a 3-0 game.
Hey, good on you, Minnesota defense.
Credit, yeah. You held Aiden O'Connell and the Raiders offense to 0 points. Credit to them.
And
Joshua Dobbs.
Interception to win the game.
So safe to say that the spaceship returned to Earth a little bit?
I was never on board the spaceship to begin with. The very beginning of the year, I was saying I want us to lose to go get a QB.
Dobbs ended up getting benched in this one for backup quarterback Nick Mullins, or I guess we're calling third string Nick Mullins.
I don't know what string we're on anymore at this point. Who's what? I don't know.
But the Vikings still find themselves in the NFC playoff hunt and prime position to potentially get a wild card.
Just don't remind me. It's just us going to playoffs again to lose again. Or we'll win the first round when we shouldn't even be there to begin with, and then we go to the second round and get blown out.
Yeah. It's tough, but
Vikings, being a Vikings fan is pain.
Hey, well, it's not.
And you're about to join me over here. 49ers versus Seattle Seahawks.
Yep.
28-16. I mean, no offense, no one would be too surprised that 49ers were going to win.
The fact that even Connor was like, if Gino would have been in, I would have expected y'all to potentially win this game. I'm like, no, we weren't. No. Here's the thing. When the second Drew Lock was announced as the starter, I was like, oh, dear God, how bad is it going to be? Not if we're going to, how bad is it going to be? Locke actually didn't even play that bad. He had a couple of just bad throws, just being a backup and being Drew Lock.
Yep.
269, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Couldn't get the run game going. San Francisco's front's too tough. And then, obviously DK Metcalf caught 1 of 2 touchdowns.
Before he got booted.
Yeah, and I'm going to get into that. Just running through the rest of the stats here. Brock Purdy, again, I don't think he should be the MVP. Look at his stacked team that he's got. 19 of 27, 368, 2 touchdowns, interception. McCaffrey had 16 for 145 on the ground. Debo, another classic Debo performance, 7 for 149 and a touchdown. Brandon Ayuk, 6 for 126. Kittle, 3 receptions, 76 yards and a touchdown. Here's the thing with the Niners and the Seahawks. So they got into a late brawl. The Niners also, by the way, own us. Since Russell Wilson left, the Seahawks are 0-4 against the Niners.
Yeesh.
In the post-Russell Wilson era. In an era that we own them, now they own us. Niners fans, it's tough. But here's the thing. So towards the end of the game, Drew Lock threw his second interception. Deep ball to DK Metcalf. I think it was deflected by it was either Young or Bosa. I can't remember. I think it was Chase Young. Deflected the ball. Fred Warner caught the interception. And as he was running, noticed that DK Metcalf was coming. He pitched the ball out. DK, still thinking he had the ball, kind of suplex tackled him to try to, end the play, obviously. And then as DK's Metcalf's going up to chase the other guy that Warner pitched the ball to, I believe it was Lenore, DK Metcalf obviously retaliated, or Warner hit him in the back of the head, Warner hit him in the back of the head. DK Metcalf obviously having major neck surgery after his time at Ole Miss. Took offense to this, got in Fred Warner's grill, grabbed him by the face mask. There was a huge brawl that ensued. Metcalf and Lenore for the Niners. Both were ejected in this one. Metcalf said afterwards, hey, listen, I don't play that. I was just trying to make the tackle. He goes and hits me. I'm going to retaliate, basically. And then Fred Warner came out afterwards and was like, yeah, I don't know what that was all about, trying to play all innocent and everything. Fred Warner, and again, this is only because this is what I feel. Fred Warner's a bitch. He is such a bitch. And you may be one of the best linebackers in football. That's a bitch move. And the fact that to act all coy in that, you're such a bitch. And congratulations, y'all are going to freaking, do well or whatever. But DK Metcalf, he's got to be better. He knows it. But
and teams are just going to target him now to try to get him to
and
blow a gasket. And it's going to be successful.
They've been doing it. It's not a new thing.
And it's going to work every time.
Fred Warner's such a bitch.
Listen, you got to be pissed at DK too.
No, I am. And here's the thing. I'm annoyed at DK, but out of all the things that he's gotten ejected for where he's been the instigator, that was one where I'm I'm defending my boy on this one.
It was only a matter of time with all of his shenanigans.
Yeah, it was a cheap shot by Warner, and then, he retaliated.
It was. And
it was so. And here's the thing.
It's DK who's been on thin ice.
Yeah.
And anything he does is going to get him screwed.
And he knows that, and he knows better than to not do that. I'll defend DK on that one.
Yep.
Rightfully so, you got ejected, but also rightfully so, you defended yourself.
Yep. All right. Moving on over to what should have been probably the Monday night matchup.
No, it definitely should have.
But for some reason, they don't want to give us this as a
Actually, do you want to do... Well, actually, no, never mind. Just kidding. We'll do Broncos-Chargers, and then we'll get into these final two. About that.
Broncos-Chargers, 24/7. All right, now...
Yeah, Brandon Staley, I don't know how he has a job this morning.
I don't know.
By the way, Sean Payton has the Denver Broncos one game out of the AFC West.
Sean Payton magic, man. I don't know what to tell you.
They went from allowing 70 points to the Dolphins earlier in the season to now they're going to find themselves in the playoffs.
Also, Herbert out for the season?
Maybe he's got a broken, index finger? Yeah. I think that's what they said.
At this point, let's be honest, your playoff hopes are really coming down.
Yeah, no, the Chargers season's done. They're cooked.
You might as well rest them.
Yeah,
it's like what I was yelling about. Justin Jefferson, rest him for the rest of the year.
Give Easton Stick some time to work with the backups. Let the second string go out there.
Yep.
It's rough in Charger land.
Yep, absolutely. All right, getting into what should have been the Monday night matchup.
Yep,
Bills, Chiefs.
Yep,
good game to watch. Josh Allen really played up to the competition in true Josh Allen form. He actually ran the ball, which is something they need to do sometimes. Not too much, though. But again, let him run, let him move. He does great. 233 yards, a touchdown, interception to Patrick Mahomes. 271, touchdown, interception. So,
Allen did have the same number of carries as their leading rusher, James Cook.
Yes.
They need a problem. They need to change that.
So,
also, Cook was their leading receiver, by the way. Shout out James Cook.
Yeah, which, again, weird. That also kind of came with, two-man coverage on Diggs, and rightfully so.
Do you believe before we get into the Kansas City side, because there's a lot to say on the Kansas City side, do you believe if Buffalo would have lost this game, that McDermott's time in Buffalo would have been
yes.
over?
Yes. If not, I don't know what else you need. because the comments that he made
Like,
the
it was
week
a
alone
really bad
are
week.
already.
And that's the thing. Like, if you watch that game,
The win is probably what helped save his job.
But the thing is, they tried to give the game away because they weren't trying to
Multiple
run the ball
times.
Yeah, they tried to run. They weren't trying to run it out. They were trying to pass the ball. And again, he's a defensive-minded guy, but because he has Josh Allen to bail him out and create, that's why he's been there as long as he has been. Like, it's so Josh Allen reliant. It's insane.
Gabe Davis, maybe 2 targets if I had to guess that game, but nothing happened from it. Diggs, 4 receptions.
Oh, he had no. Diggs had 11 targets.
11 targets, but 4 receptions. I mean, that's kind of what happens when you get 2-man coverage. Knox, 3. I mean, he got all 3 of his targets. James Cook, the 5 targets he got 5 and actually made use of them. Yeah, I mean, again, Buffalo played well for the most part, even though they were trying to give the game away. Man, oh man, does Patrick Mahomes need wide receivers?
Yes.
His 2 targets, literally his only 2 targets, Travis Kelce and Rice.
Yeah,
that is it.
Here's what I'll say.
We'll get into Tony later.
Yeah, no, we'll get into
Tony the bum tiger.
Yeah. So here's the thing, right? Mahomes, they missed Isaiah Pacheco today. He's clearly the best running back.
100%.
He does also work out of the backfield as well, just kind of like little dump off passes and everything. He is a kind of a part of their passing game now, to where he's kind of their third guy. Rashee Rice, obviously, is a rookie. You're relying on him to be your number 2.
Yep.
Travis Kelce is no longer at his peak. He's still really, really good. Still elite. You could still argue best tight end in football.
Man, let me tell you, his football IQ is fantastic too.
Yeah, just insane. And we'll get into that play in a second. He is no longer peak Travis Kelce. I don't know if it's the injury that he suffered at the beginning of the season that he's playing through. He does not look like the same player that he did last year. He's still producing. He's still going to give you numbers. But I still think he's not the guy that they had as their main catalyst in the Super Bowl run.
Well, and here's probably the reason now. You know their wide receiver talent is very slim.
But last year they had it. Juju Smith-Schuster is the only difference from this roster.
Yeah, and
Rashee
apparently
Rice
that was a big difference.
Yeah, no, it's not. Have we talked about Juju at all? Off the top of your head, do you know where Juju plays? I do. Do you?
No, he's dancing on TikTok somewhere with New England Patriots.
New England Patriots. Yep, and he's drowned on that roster.
Hey, he's getting Belichick in some TikTok dances, right?
Exactly. And the fact that, like, Kelce, right? It's always, ever since Tyreek left, it's always just been Kelce. And I think now the fact that his body's kind of wearing on him a little bit, he is an older guy. That's going to be a problem. But getting into this game, the final moments of it, obviously. So if you hadn't seen it, there's plenty of clips on Twitter that you can go watch. Travis Kelce.
Man, just a smart move.
Big 3rd down play. Mahomes, of course, goes to number 87 over the middle. He gets the 1st down, but Travis Kelce was not satisfied with that. And I believe by play design, caught it, dragged all the Buffalo defenders near him, obviously with the ball.
Yep.
And just said, saw Kadarius Toney, 5 yards behind him down the field.
Completely open. No one around.
Former QB, Travis Kelce, by the way, throws a dart to Toney, which is a legal lateral. Toney then gets the ball, runs it in the end zone, and everybody's thinking, all right, Kansas City escapes this one.
Toney could have been a game savior for got him the win with Travis.
Yeah, so they're all sitting there. They all think they won, and there's a flag on the field for a rare, but technically
warranted, completely warranted
offensive offsides on Kadarius Toney. That was weird. Here's the thing.
He didn't even look at the refs.
He didn't
check. So
yeah.
Patrick Mahomes threw a whole fit. Well, the refs could have told him. He didn't look at the refs to even get told.
Yeah, Mahomes let it loose on the sidelines.
Telling Josh Allen. Allen doesn't care.
Yeah.
No, it deserved to be called. He was
Here's the thing, Brendan, let's walk us through here before we get to that. We're jumping all over the place. So he then doesn't get on 4th down. He's obviously irate on the sidelines. He is yelling not only just at the refs, but also people on his team. He's obviously very much complaining.
Helmet.
Yeah, everything. He's just letting it. He's literally becoming like Jackson Mahomes, like the term of that. It was not a good look for the multiple-time Super Bowl winning MVP. He then, after the game, as Brennan alluded to, in a traditional, hey, good game, man, went up to Josh Allen, and the audio was leaked, basically cussing out the call, being like, it's trash. And Allen's sitting there like, what do you want me to say about it? He just kind of walks off. It was not a good look for 15. And then he went as far as to, at the postgame presser,
keep complaining
and saying that it affected Travis Kelce's Hall of Fame career.
No, it did not.
And then, Coach Andy Reid said, hey, listen, the NFL should have warned us about that or given us a heads up. Like,
He didn't look.
Hey, they're going to remember that from now on and obviously do that. Check.
Also, here's something else, too. Just because a play's cool doesn't mean we should overlook penalties.
Exactly. No, 100%. And the legality
Sorry,
of it and
Patrick.
everything. Yes.
No, that's not how this works.
Yeah. No, the Chiefs, I think.
Sucks when the refs actually treat you like everyone else in the NFL.
And I think part of that frustration is Mahomes realizing, like, hey, this season isn't going the way they thought. I mean, this is arguably the worst season in the Mahomes era.
And you're 8-5. Well,
now, 8-5. Yeah. So it's, they went out. They can still win their 12 games that they have every year of the Mahomes era. But, this is not how the season was thought to go for the Chiefs. And, Andrew said it best. They're no longer an elite team. They're no longer a team that, back in the prime Mahomes days, you would see them down 1, 2, even 3 scores in some cases, and you're like, all right, Mahomes got this.
Yep.
We don't look at them that way anymore. Now they're going to have to win games like 21-17, 24, 14, something like that.
You're fighting.
Yeah, in a dogfight. And they've got the defense to do it. But the receivers, if they want to win a Super Bowl, they're going to have to step up their play better than they've been playing.
Yep. So, that about does it for that game. Now, moving on over to the Sunday night matchup, one of the fun games to watch. Cowboys-Eagles. Cowboys came on top, 33-13. Apparently, Dak is trying to really make that push for MVP.
If the vote were today and I had one, he would be my vote. It's just plain and simple. He's been the most valuable player. He's put up the stats. He has been on fire now ever since the bye week that they've had. His numbers have been insane.
I still think Tyreek or CMC deserves it, but it's not going to go to him. So.
It's not going to go. It's a quarterback award. Tyreek Hill would be like the main, I think, guy.
Don't call it MVP.
Well, it's the best quarterback award.
That's what they need to call it.
Yeah, or give a separate award out to the position players. How about that?
Do MVPs per position then.
Here's the thing. Dak, 24, 39, 271, 2 touchdowns. This was just an all-around butt kicking by the Cowboys.
Dallas's defense was on point, forcing fumbles.
Jalen Hurts, right? He has kind of slipped a little bit. And really in these last 2 weeks, I mean, obviously getting his butt kicked now by both NFC contenders.
Yep.
The Eagles have problems. Defensively, their back seven is one of the worst in football.
Your tush push ain't going to work when you ain't near the goal line.
Shaquille Leonard's not managing that. Here's the thing. They addressed the linebacking core getting Shaq Leonard. He's not going to be the savior.
Yep.
Kevin Byard, who they traded for from Tennessee, he's not helping.
Nope.
It's just a rough spot for Philly. And they
A.J. Brown, I think, dropped the ball, twice?
Yeah.
Or just once?
He was kind of uncharacteristically bad.
It was a weird game.
Yeah.
The run couldn't get started.
What was it? Hurts, Brown, and Devonta Smith all fumbled this game.
Yep.
And, we were sitting there. I told this to Andrew. You weren't on. Do you realize in the last, since either 2016 or 2018, like one of those, like since that, in the last like half decade, basically, the NFL Super Bowl winners, do you know how many times they've quote unquote blown out an opponent, like the Super Bowl winners, meaning like 10 points or more? How many double digit wins those teams have?
Dang.
All of them had at least 6, right? The Eagles only have 2 blowout wins. So to me, we're going to have to start really considering, is this team a Super Bowl contender? I know they were your pick before the year started to not only, make it to the Super Bowl, but also win it. The Eagles are in a rough spot right now because they got a lot of holes, and I don't know if they've got the personnel to get them out of it, to be honest.
They don't.
Which is weird to say. And the Cowboys now are looking like they could potentially win this division. Obviously, we've got Titans-Dolphins tonight, Packers-Giants. That's going to be on later. So you will obviously know the results of that. And if I make playoffs, I'll know the result of that. Please, please, please. Just get me there, please. Just get me in the dance. All right. Previewing next week's matchup. Thursday night. Easton Stick versus Aiden O'Connell. Next.
Well, hang on.
What?
Monday.
I just did that Monday. Did you not hear me?
I mean...
Yeah, Titans-Dolphins that we're going to see, and then Packers-Giants.
I know, but
Do you want to go into it?
Yes.
We never do that, but all right.
We do every now and then.
No, we do not.
We've been recording after Mondays.
No, we record during the Mondays because we'll be like, yeah, we're watching the game during this, and we usually give a score update. But because it's not during the game.
I get it.
All right, Titans-Dolphins. I expect Tua Tyreek and company to roll. This is kind of a tune-up game before they kind of get into the last month of the season. Last 4 games of the season, I should say, because they have after this they have the Jets, which is tough defense, Cowboys tough defense, Ravens tough defense, and Bills tough defense. So they're going to be tough.
Yards, Tyreek. How many you think
Tonight?
Yep.
I'd be very curious to know that. I'm saying at least $125.
$125. All right.
I'll say at least $125.
I'm gonna go.
At least.
I'm gonna go 150.
Okay. I mean, against Titans, it's not a.
That's why why I'm going with it.
I'm gonna just say it's safe because what if he gets Jalen Waddle involved? Or the running backs? Who knows? He could.
You're hoping for the running backs.
Yeah, Miami's faced, well, not one of them, but Miami's minus 13.5 favorite. Any shot Will Levis shows any signs of anything this game?
No.
Okay. Packers Giants. Tommy DeVito versus Jordan Love.
Hey, put some emphasis on that name.
DeVito. Tommy Cutlets.
Tommy Cutlets, the boy.
The boy. Jordan Love's going to cook. They've figured out the sauce of Jordan Love, in my opinion, especially over a Tommy DeVito-led team. And again, this is Jordan Love's showcase. Like, hey, this is the reason you don't draft QB. You want to keep me. I think he balls out. I think it's an inferior Giants team.
And as long as you keep Saquon contained, you're fine.
Jones is, I think, still listed as questionable. I'm not sure if they've ruled him in or out or yet, but we'll obviously see that. Giants dealing with a load of injuries. Evan Neal, Dexter Lawrence, Paris Campbell, Daniel Bellinger, A'Shawn Robinson. I think
it's
Darren
a
Waller's
falling
on
apart team, yeah.
Yeah, this is not going to be good. All right. You happy?
Now we can get into next week's matchup.
All right, Easton Stick versus Aiden O'Connell. You don't be watching, Brendan? It's Thursday Night Football.
Actually, I'll be at work, so it'll just be on in the background.
There you go. But speaking of Brendan, the Minnesota Vikings travel to Cincinnati to take on another pair of backup quarterbacks. Will it be Nick Mullins? Will it be Josh Jobs? It's going up against Jake Browning in Cincinnati.
It's the biggest surprise to me as it is everyone else, and probably KOC as well. He's like, I don't know what I'm doing at this point now.
Yeah.
He's just got to figure it out. He's like, my defense is keeping me alive. That's it.
Pittsburgh takes on Indianapolis in Indy in a matchup again. I don't think Kenny Pickett will be back in this one. So Gardner Minshew versus Mitch Trubisky. I think Gardner bounces back in this one.
Yeah.
The only thing is Pittsburgh's defense has just a worldie, but I was expecting them to have it against the Patriots, and they didn't. So moving on to the main event of Saturday.
This will be a fun one to watch.
Yes, Denver versus Detroit. If Detroit's not on their A game, Denver will 100% beat the Lions in Detroit. In fact,
and they had a weird run game too last week.
Do they have the odds out for this one? You keep talking. Sorry.
Yeah, so they had a weird run game last week where like Gibbs was doing good, Montgomery did okay, but it wasn't like they couldn't really seem to get like that momentum that they normally had with the run.
Yeah.
And so I think that had a lot to hinder their performance.
Which Denver's pretty good against the run.
Mm-hmm. And so I'll be interested to see, like, again, is that going to kind of keep the Lions back? Because, again, a lot of it comes down to, hey, let's do a power run, let's get some yardage in there, and then let's go to maybe a pass and see what we can do. If you stop that run, you're really putting Goff in a spot.
Yeah. No, they're a run-first team that plays off the play action.
Yep.
And that's where Goff thrives. It's where he thrived in Los Angeles. It's where he thrived in Detroit.
Yeah.
Detroit is a -5 favorite. I personally think that's a little high. I would love it even more if it was at like -6 or -7, but I would still take the Broncos side at -5.
Yeah. It's not a bad. I mean, it's really a flip of a coin kind of game at this point.
The fact that it is in Detroit could maybe lean itself. I mean, this is Detroit's. If they are any bit of the contender we may have thought they were, this is their get back game.
They have to.
Yes. Moving into the Sunday games now, we've got Chicago at Cleveland. Justin Fields, again, fighting for his life. He's going up against the toughest defense since he's come back.
Yeah, I'm seeing the Browns just
take
this one.
Yeah, because Joe Flacco, I think, could carve up the Chicago Bears defense, who has been playing better. But ultimately, I think along with the run game, as long as Cleveland doesn't commit any stupid turnovers or penalties,
fumbles.
Yeah, they should control this one.
I had to.
Baker Mayfield travels to Jordan Love, Green Bay. Obviously, we'll be seeing what the Packers look like tonight.
Be an interesting matchup.
This could be like one of those low key. I'm trying to stress because Andrew will sit there and look at the NFL schedule and be like, "Oh, bad game, bad game."
And we're like, "Hold on,
low key banger."
Yeah,
low key banger. Like Baker Mayfield, we've seen him put up points during the season. Jordan Love's obviously got a resurgence. I think this could be potentially, I'm looking at the rest of the games now for the 12 o'clock window. This could be the game of the 12 o'clock window.
Yep.
I think so. Speaking of...
This is one of those that depends on which
Levis we get.
Yeah, and then same with, does Houston get some people back or is CJ out? Like, there's this one's an up in the air. Stay tuned for injury updates, basically, from Houston's side. If CJ's out, they're done. They're cooked.
Yeah,
I don't care who you're putting in back there.
I'm really interested to see because again, it sucks what happened to the Texans wide receivers. Will Nico Collins come back? Sure. I want to see C.J. Stroud's bounce back game because again, where you truly find the heart of a champion or heart of like a guy that's just willing to compete and be that top level guy is after a performance like C.J. Stroud just had. So that's what I'm going to be looking for.
Yep. So moving on over to the next one. I mean, Dolphins, Jets. Yeah.
Here's the thing, Zach Wilson.
I don't
because the Dolphins. Here's the thing. If the Jets can stop the Dolphins rushing attack, then it forces it on Tua. Which again, the Jets back end's not the greatest, but if they make the Dolphins one dimensional, could Zach Wilson again just make it interesting, make it competent?
I think you're going to get a normal Zach Wilson performance.
Here's the thing, he looked really good last week.
That's fine. You can have a blind squirrel can find a nut every now and then.
I'm just saying, wouldn't be surprised if this game's. What's the spread on it actually? Have they come out with it?
I think the over/under is like 40.5. Money line negative
10.5 for Miami. I don't think it's gonna be 10.5. I think the Jets can get it within 10, which would make it somewhat a decent game.
No.
Okay.
If I was Andrew, I'd be hammering that, as he says.
We'll see.
It's a lock.
All right, you want to talk about a lock? How about Kansas City getting their bounce back against New England?
That's just, here's a softball pitch, bud. Here you go.
I'm not saying, by the way, the Jets are going to win. I'm saying they're going to make it interesting. I would still pick Miami.
I don't think they will, though. That's what I'm getting at.
Kansas City over New England.
Yeah,
right?
100%. Giants Saints. I don't.
Here's the thing. I think the Saints could win this because I still think they're fighting in that NFC South. They'll be more desperate. But the Giants. Here's the thing. If Derek Carr keeps playing the way they're doing,
that's why I was like, this is a weird one to actually kind of break down.
His team might actually punch him in the face and put Jameis.
Oh, the fans will just straight up storm the field and murder this man.
Did you see Eric McCoy, the Saints center, like getting Derek Carr's face after? Yeah, it's not looking
not good.
No, and it's again, we said it last week.
The locker room's gone.
We said it last week with Andrew. This was the worst offseason move that any team made, was signing Derek Carr to that contract.
100%. Panthers, Falcons. I mean,
Falcons get right again. They'll move to 7-7, I think, or what's the record? And Bryce Young, you're gonna have a rough day.
Yep. Commanders, Rams. Commanders coming off a bye week.
I like
Rams should have this.
Yeah.
But
here's the thing: Howell can make it interesting, and again, the Rams secondary is still so young that they could potentially get in a shootout here. I would expect a lot of scoring in this matchup.
Yeah, I think doesn't Howell lead in interceptions?
He leads in combined sacks and interceptions.
Yeah, I mean
that's what he leads in.
Man's running.
He's getting sacked more often than any quarterback by far.
Yeah. So I mean, hate to see it. 49ers, Cardinals. This should be kind of a low key interesting one, just because Kyler.
I think. But here's the thing. I think San Francisco puts Kyler in a blender. They're gonna make life difficult because Kyler. The only reason that the Pittsburgh game wasn't as more ugly as it was is because Pickett got hurt and you had to put Trubisky in on the fly.
Yeah.
If you have a competent quarterback and you can get a pass rush after Murray, it's going to get ugly. And with Chase Young and Nick Bosa, I expect them to make Kyler Murray's life hell, basically.
Literally, I mean, basically what we're getting at, and everyone knows this, the Cardinals only have Kyler Murray.
Pretty much.
That's the only player.
Yeah.
Moving on over, here's a fun one. Cowboys, Bills.
This is such a big game. Cowboys coming off an emotional win on Sunday Night Football against the rival. They finally get into the point.
Should have moved this to a Thursday night game.
I agree. They moved. Well, Cowboys also played 2 Thursday night games back.
I don't care. Well, give me a better matchup.
How about Baltimore, Jacksonville should have been the Thursday night game?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you make Cowboys another Sunday night game?
Yeah, exactly. So Dallas, Buffalo, though, I think here's the thing. Bills are more hungry and they're at home. This could be a game that they steal.
Well, and they have to win.
Yeah, they have to win.
It's do or die.
Out for the rest of the season.
Yeah. So they're going to be playing aggressive.
Yeah, and I think the Cowboys, this is the first defense that Dallas has come into really since, not the Eagles, not the Seahawks, Commanders, Panthers, Giants, really since the loss against the Eagles. Like, this is the best defense Dallas has faced in a foreseeable time. So will Dak still look like the MVP? Front runner? We'll see.
It's
But
their chance to really try to
yeah,
push him down a couple pegs to then promote Brock Purdy.
or Lamar, who
Yeah.
takes on the Jacksonville Jaguars Sunday Night Football. I would assume Trevor Lawrence would also go in this one, although he's going to be nursing the heck out of that ankle.
Yeah, they just, yeah.
Here's the thing with Baltimore. They've kind of won ugly here for a little bit now, especially ever since Mark Andrews went down.
As long as you're winning.
I'm interested to see how Jacksonville responds because now their season's kind of looking iffy here. I think this could be one of the better games on the slate. I'd still roll with Baltimore, but again, if Dak kind of struggles in that one and Lamar kind of has a pop-off game against Jacksonville, put Lamar potentially into discussion. That's all I'm saying. You know?
Absolutely. And moving on over to the Monday night matchup, the bird game. Eagles, Seahawks.
In Seattle.
Yep. So I'm sorry, my money is on the Eagles.
Yeah, Philly get in their get-back game. Geno could be back for this one. Here's what I'll say. If Seattle at least can make it a scoring contest with Philly, then it could be something like interesting. But I still think Philly, they kind of realize, okay, we've lost to San Francisco. We've lost to Dallas in the last 2 weeks. We need to right the ship here because the number 1 seed in the NFC is still on the line here. So,
yep. Fair enough. Well, I think that about does it. Unless you got anything else.
Nah, man. We're right in the thick of the dead end of the NFL season, and it's good. It's good to be on a podcast talking about it.
The good is getting going, as they say. Well, let's move it on over to finish out on this day in sports. On this day in 1951, Joey DiMaggio announces he is retiring from baseball.
On this day, back in 2005, Jerome the Bus Bettis runs through Brian Urlacher for a touchdown en route to a 21-9 win for the Bears on this day in sports clips.
On this day in 1966, Al Nelson sets an NFL record returning missed field goals, 100 yards.
On this day in 2021, the 87th Heisman Trophy Award is awarded to Alabama quarterback Bryce Young. Bryce, we know you got greatness in you, man. Got to start showing some of it.
Yep. What else we got on here?
A lot of Heisman stuff, to be fair.
That's why I was like, do I want to do a Heisman?
We can do a Heisman.
Sure. Let's go. I want to pick like a... I'll do this one. On this day in 2009, Tiger Woods announces an indefinite leave from professional golf to focus on his marriage. Boy, that didn't work out.
Let's see. In 1981, former world heavyweight boxing champion Muhammad Ali's 61st and last fight, he loses to Trevor Berbick by unanimous decision in 10 rounds at Queen Elizabeth Sports Center, Nassau, Bahamas.
Nice.
You can do the last one if you want.
Yeah, I'm trying to find a cricket one.
Oh, there's 1979.
What you got? 1979. Stand by.
Did you see it?
Yep.
All right.
On this day, 1979, I'm assuming that's Jeff Boycott scores cricket century and limited over international. I have no idea what any of that meant.
Big cricket guys.
But big cricket guys right here, you know.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that about does it for today on this day in sports. Woo! Woohoo!
Wow. We had a good pod today, man.
Yep, we did. As always, Brendan Carson, Colin Brown.
Gotta play that music, brother.
Signing off. Well, I'm doing the talk first. And
The
I'm
talk?
fade out.
Oh, you're gonna do.
I'm changing it up a little bit.
See, this is throwing me off.
I know.
I don't like it.
I know it is.
I don't like it.
As always, Brendan Carson, Colin Brown. Follow us on TikTok, Spotify, YouTube, anywhere you listen to your podcasts. Feel free to leave comments, ask questions.
Answer the polls too.
We put out polls. If y'all want to answer them and interact, again, if
be a
you
great
wanna,
talking point.
Yeah, if you want to ask questions, we have more than been happy to do a question segment right before this day in sports, answer your sports questions and needs and things like that. If you want to just be a gambling degenerate like Andrew and have questions on who to bet on, Andrew can answer them maybe. Who knows? You'll find out. But yeah, maybe we need to give Andrew that 1-800 gambling line.
Peace.
Peace.